All right, my friend, another question from the community.
Yep, I'm ready.
So this is from Jackie C. And Jackie writes, always learning so much from each chat and discussion. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it. I'm curious your opinions on posting the workout ahead of time or not at all. For example, when I first started CrossFit, I had no idea what the workout was going to be until I showed up at the gym that day and saw it on the whiteboard. Nowadays, I see some gyms post the workout the night before and some gyms post the entire week of workouts. We will be opening a new affiliate soon and want to go back to the old school way of not posting ahead of time. But we do worry that members prefer to know what they are in for before they show up. Any thoughts?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. I love this topic, and I am almost certain that we've addressed this to some degree on some of our past shows, but it's fun to kind of
focus on it. They all blur together.
Yes, it's fun to kind of focus on it for a little bit. So I've got a lot of thoughts. Let's start big picture, because I like that. If we're talking about the CrossFit philosophy and we're talking about the athlete that you want to develop, not necessarily the top dog competitor, but we have a person who's able to be molded into something greater than they are today. I think one of the things that is so appealing about CrossFit is this idea that you are ready for anything. Mm-hmm. And in the early days, that was definitely something that was held in high regard, was like, hey, it doesn't matter what it is. It might not be my favorite thing to do, but I'm going to give it my all. And because I've been training in this manner, I'll be prepared enough that I can give it a good shot. And I love that philosophy, and I love that idea of developing it. And I also think by extension, it can be really powerful to instill that mentality into your members so that they're a little bit more robust mentally. They don't have to know what it is before they show up. They don't have to have every small little detail to feel like the workout is going to be productive. And by extension, they don't necessarily have to rely on a ton of fancy schmancy gear every time that they want to come into the gym. You know, I think the modern CrossFitter loves to fall back on, loves to fall back on, well, which pair of shoes do I bring to the gym today? And, you know, back in the day, that just wasn't really a choice. You had your one all-rounders, and that's what you did everything in.
Chuck Taylors and board shorts.
It's not to say that there's not some good that comes out of that. Of course there is. But for my money, I do think it's a great thing to instill in people that, hey, yeah, you're going to show up. You might not know what you're doing until you have to do it, and that's okay. And in fact, that's a benefit. So I'm very pro taking that approach. Now, I understand the counter arguments, and I'm sure we'll kind of bat those around a little bit, but on its face, I think it's right in line with the CrossFit philosophy.
You know, I'd be curious if I could speak with Jackie in person, because they write, where does it say in their comment here? That nowadays I see some gyms post a workout the night before, and some gyms post the entire weeks of workouts. You know, I would go further to say, you know, they say nowadays I see some gyms post a workout the night before. I would say the overwhelming majority post the day before. I haven't seen a lot post the entire week. That's interesting. That would be a new one on me. And then, I mean, the total antithesis of that, talk about we're going to post the entire week versus now we're not going to post, period. I do kind of like what you said, and I agree, that would be true. If you actually did have that gym, you didn't post the workout, and you somehow instilled in your members and created a culture that you would have some fantastic members, because that would be an amazing group of people that were just like, look, we know the value of all these different types of workouts. And we know that even if it's something that makes me go, yeesh, I'm going to find a way to make it work for me. So I don't care what in the world it is. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m. I don't care.
Yep.
That's a cool group of people. That's a down for anything group of people. And I do like that kind of sense of it.
I also think it takes a lot of trust to get there. And I think if you can get people to opt into that, it speaks volumes about the trust that they have in you as owner, coach, etc. So it's a pretty cool thing to think about. Now, you know, there are some drawbacks to that. You know, that's not going to be everybody's flavor. It's definitely going to be a hard
Mm-hmm.
sell in many cases. I think the benefit of if you're just starting out is that you don't have expectation already built in. A lot of times what's least palatable to people is if they're used to having access to that information and suddenly it goes away.
Oh, yeah,
That's
sure.
that's a really hard situation for a lot of people. But if that's just what they've known, that is their CrossFit experience. I show up and there's something for me to do. I have trust that it's well thought out and that it fits in this broader scheme of things. And I just show up and do it. I mean, starting that way is going to be a much easier task if that's what you're interested in doing.
So to let the people at home in on a little behind the scenes, production stuff for you and I, we didn't get to record last week. I was on a family vacation. And so we're doubling up this week. And so the previous show that we just recorded was on the rep shaving. And now we're on this one. We're recording them both the same day because my family selfishly went on vacation. And
How
so
dare you?
since on that last show, I reached out to two affiliate owners. I knew they were doing both shows today. So while I had them on the phone, I asked
Oh,
both
perfect.
Nicole Christensen from CrossFit Roots, her take on posting workouts or not posting, and then Scott Panchik from CrossFit
I love it.
Mentality, their post as well. So we're going to get to hear from these two affiliate owners. And here's what they had to say. And it's so great that you had your lead in already because I think I started with Scott in the last show. So I'll start with Nicole this time. One of her big things was, what you just said about the darn modern CrossFitter with all their gear. that she was like, look, yes, they post the workouts the night before so that everyone can see them. And the primary reason they do that is so that members like to adequately prepare for what it happens to be. Like,
Sure.
is okay, there are double unders in the workout. I'm going to bring my favorite rope because I don't want to have the rope that's there. Oh, there are rope climbs. Oh, I'm going to wear these certain shoes that I don't mind maybe if they get torn up a little bit on the rope. It's heavy deadlift day. I'm going to have pants on for my shins. Or, oh, there's a lot of pull-ups. I got to take care of my hands so that I don't get a tear. So that was the overwhelming majority as to why they did post. Now, she admitted, the con is that you may certainly run the risk of people cherry picking a workout because they don't like the looks of it, or they know they're not going to do well, or it's going to get them out of their comfort zone, and they might not show up. Definite con. But her retort to that was ideally you can minimize that to the largest degree possible through educating your members. The more you raise the strength and conditioning level of intelligence of your members, the more compliant members you will have, the more they'll understand what they're doing, and the more they'll understand they can show up on all these days because the short, the medium, the long have value, even if some of those you don't like. The heavy days have value, even if maybe you're not a heavy person. And the running days, I know, shocking as it is, those have value as well. And if you can get that to the client, then hopefully no matter what they see on the website the night before, even if it doesn't put a big smile on their face, you'll still see them the next day. So that was, her general takeaway of that. And I will say that was largely echoed by Scott as well from CrossFit Mentality. And when I threw this question at him, he went on a little bit of a self-admitted tangent. He's like, oh man, he goes, I hear things like this every now and then. He goes, and it always comes back to some other topics people bring up, such as, should we post the workouts or not post the workouts? If a client's late for class, should they be penalized? He goes, I always hear these other things. He goes, I always keep thinking back to these people who are showing up to my affiliate are paying quite a hefty fee to be here, and they're making a time commitment and a financial commitment to be here. And so it's my job as the affiliate owner and the coach to be as accommodating as I possibly can to make this fit their life so that they can say yes, so that they can do it the whole 9 yards. And if he goes, now don't get me wrong, there's a difference between somebody's always late and they're asking too many questions and they're disrupting everyone's experience to, I've got a person who's never late, life got crazy, kids got out of control, they jumped into the workout late. He's like, that's fine. He's like, and it's the same deal with posting the workout. He's like, if I can post the workout and allow them to physically or mentally prepare and they show up a more ready client to do this workout. Maybe it's a long grinder and they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to have a good meal and something to drink about 2 hours before this or whatever it happens to be. He's like, I'm going to do my best to to set them up for that. So that was why he said yes. He also echoed 100% that education piece that Nicole said as well, that ideally, if you have smart clients, then they know why all the different days matter. And they know why they don't have to particularly love every single solitary workout. But if you understand the value and if you have goals, and he said that talking about goals and having a goals board at his gym was a big deal. And if you understand what is the actual path to achieve what you have stated are your goals, well, it's this strength and conditioning journey that we're on together, then I'll see you at 5 p.m. you know, and that all helps in the compliance. So both of them were very much on the same sheet of music on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point too, that, hey, at the end of the day, what matters is consistency and facilitating that consistency. And so with the group of people that you're working with, if it is going to make the difference one way or the other as to whether somebody's going to show up or not, that should be the obvious decision right there. So if putting something out there is enough of a teaser to get people in the door, more so than the alternative, great. That's probably a no-brainer. Alternatively, though, I think you have to ask the inverse of that, is like when I do post things that are unpopular, if that stops people from coming in, well, I have to identify that as well. So I think maybe what this is getting at is like, can you have your cake and eat it too? And I would say you probably can, especially if you're just starting out. Maybe you post the workout at certain times that are decided, but that's more of like an event. It's a public thing. It's like, hey, on Friday, we're all going to do this. And then maybe the rest of the week, there isn't as much visibility. I'd be really curious to see somebody experiment with a hybrid like that from the get-go, so that that's kind of baked into the culture. And again, not something that's either changing or being taken away from somebody. It's just kind of what they know as their CrossFit experience. I'd be curious to see the effect that that has.
Well, let me put you on the spot. I'll put myself on the spot as well, because Jackie asked for our opinion. So they're going to open a gym, and what are your thoughts? Should we really think about going to that old school way of not posting, or should we get on board what seems to be the more common train and post the workouts the day before?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think I'll go with what I originally said, that if you feel strongly about it and it's something that you enjoy and it's what you want to cultivate, then yes, you should stick to your guns and don't post. Make it part of the fun. Hey, at the end of the day, we put it up there so we have a record of it on our blog or whatever our website is, Instagram, whatever. And people can have the visibility retroactively. And by extension, you know, if they're paying attention, they'll be able to put the pieces together well enough that they can look back and say, okay, Monday was this, Saturday was this, Friday was this. I bet you tomorrow's going to be this. You know, they'll still get to play that game to some degree, but they won't necessarily know all the details. So yeah, I think if they feel strongly, I think they should go for it and have some fun with it, because at the end of the day, this is not one of those things that's such a hard line in the sand that you can't adjust later on. If you do it and you're like, you know what, people aren't really on the same wavelength as us about this, hey, 6 months in, you can always pull the plug on it. It's easy enough.
Jackie, let us know what choice you make. I'm going to go the other way and say that you should post the night before.
Yep.
You mentioned something which actually I hadn't thought about till you said, but it is so cool. And this might be, I love it when this happens, and this might be a good indication. Like I would be a big proponent of, I'm sure you would as well. Scott mentioned it, Nicole mentioned it, the education of your members. And when they start to become sharp members, it's really cool. Don't fear making your community try to have them know as much or if not more than you do about strength and conditioning. That's not going to work you out of a job. Trust me, it's not going to work that way. It will only make everything better. And when you start to have some members that, like you said, okay, maybe we did something on Monday, we did something on Tuesday, and they start to sniff it out before it's even posted, like, you know what? I will bet you tomorrow's heavy below parallel. I will bet you, just based upon what we did on Monday. And then it is, you're like, oh, that's cool. You saw it coming because it made sense, right? Because now that's a great validation on a whole. Well, like, you know what? Tomorrow's got to be overhead. It's got to be. And we're going a bit heavy. I tell you what, it's going to be a lightweight burner. Trust me on this one. It's really cool. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So I like that a lot. I will also say, just from personal experience, so for my community, I post 4 p.m. Pacific time every day what the workout is, the upcoming day's workouts. And I've been doing that for a very long time, I think since 2014. So coming up on a decade now. And then, but if people are in the BTWB app, well, the week's workouts will be uploaded. So if they so desire, they can go into the app and look forward and see what's coming up on every single day. But that's not on the website and that's not on Instagram. You have to actually be on the app. And it's very split in my community. There are people who, somebody might be like, hey, it's Monday. I got a question about Wednesday's workout. And people will be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't want to know what's coming up on Wednesday. Don't post about Wednesday's workout. What are you doing? It's a spoiler alert. And other people very much like to lay their week out to see, this is what I got going on. Oh, look, there's a 7x1 deadlift day coming up. I know that requires a good chunk of time. I can't do that on Wednesday. I got to rework my week. So there's pros and cons to knowing, and there's also a group of people that love to have that little secret Easter egg that just pops up for them. And so, you've got everyone from not posting at all to posting just tomorrow's workout to giving people access to the week if they so desire. And none of them are right or wrong. Kind of like you said, it's the culture, it's the vibe, it's what you start with. But I will say, I personally like to know so I can plan my life. But also, I do think if you were fortunate enough and crafty enough to design your community, like you said at the beginning of the show, where they didn't care at all. I don't need to know, coach. We trust you. We're all in. See you tomorrow. You're going to have a pretty darn cool community that I bet's really fun to work out with. So, Jackie, please keep us posted.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this pans out. And like I said, I think there are so many decisions that you make, especially as like a new or younger affiliate owner, that are going to have like some pretty serious impact. You're going to have to make some good decisions there. But this is one of those ones that I think there's still enough room you can have some fun. It's not going to be a deal maker or breaker for many people right out the gate. And so, yeah, you've got some latitude to experiment a little bit here. And I think that's fun.
And I wouldn't shy. Like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, I wouldn't shy away from it. You could almost make that your calling
be
card,
transparent
or your distinguishing feature from, maybe there's a handful of other CrossFit gyms in your area. And like, hey, we got great coaching. They got great coaching. We get this, we get that. But I'll tell you what's unique about our members is we have developed a culture where we show up and do the work. Doesn't matter what the work is, and how can we prove that? Because we don't even tell you what it is, but people still show up. That's the level of trust our members have in the staff. That's kind of a cool thing to put out there. And so it might be worth rolling the dice and seeing if you can really grow that vibe.
CrossFit Blackout on a need-to-know basis. I mean, that's it right there. You get a T-shirt in the pipe. That's like...
I was going to say, I wonder if that name's taken. That'd be a great name. So anyway, somebody will hustle after the show to see if it is. But Jackie, much appreciated for the question. And if I didn't say this on last week's show, I apologize. But big thanks to Nicole Christensen from CrossFit Roots in Boulder and to Scott Panchik from CrossFit Mentality out there in Mentor, Oregon. Thanks to both of you for sharing your expertise and knowledge on these topics.
Ohio.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Oregon. I had to,
oh my goodness.
Sorry, I had to put it in there.
Yes. No.
Yeah,
Mentor, Ohio.
In Ohio.
Back in the old Central East days, the Central Beast.
Yep.
So yes, we thank you both. And also we thank everybody out in the viewing and listening audience for your input, your ideas, and your topics. Please keep them coming. They obviously drive the content of the show, and it's our honor and pleasure to discuss them. If you've got more, find this show on the BTWB YouTube channel. Post your thoughts and comments on posting or not posting the next day's workouts. What do you like? What have you seen? And if you have an upcoming idea, throw it our way as well. And as always, if you want to help support the show, go to the show notes, click on the VNR Cycles link, and check out the 15 or 20 different cycles we've got there, from get your first gymnastic movement of push-up to ring dip to everything in between, to some barbell work, some on-ramp programs, and some really good stuff that hopefully serves you well. For Adrian Bosman, I'm Pat Sherwood, and we will see you next time.